You kill the fan for now. Baby, look at the time. Look at the time. Look at the... welcome. This is Greg and he's John, and I can't hear you, John. Why can't I hear you? It was working so well during our testing. Let's just, look, tell you what, my producer's going to go and do some magic for John's audio in a couple of moments, and hopefully we'll hear him very shortly. Can you do that source replace thing on John that we spoke about just before the show? So click on that row E, right click, change source, jam. Okay, now hit enter on that. Hit enter, just hit enter. Hit enter, the enter key on the keyboard. And hit enter one more time, just hit enter. There we go, now we can hear him. Hello, Johnny.
Hey, how you going, guys? Great, here I am live. I'm over in beautiful Adelaide and jumping on a plane again, as usual. It's lovely and sunny over here. I think it's not so much in the East Coast, but great to be with you all.
Yeah, just a couple of announcements and apologies. So number one, John is in the middle of driving to an airport again. So halfway through the show, John may be incommunicado, but we'll deal with that when that happens. Also, our guest that we did have scheduled for today, unfortunately, is not here. Our guest was the Outback Trucker, and he actually had a truck breakdown today. Let me just see if I can read out the message that came in from him. Sorry, mate, no chance. Bloody blown turbo. Out here for another day. Not this Saturday, but any day after that will be fine. So we've had Outback Trucker blow his turbo. So no guest today. Halfway through the show, we're just going to maybe open up Rendezvous. We might let someone else come in. We're just going to play it by ear and play it a little bit loose today.
We're good at that. We're good at winging it.
Absolutely. But let's get into, before we get into the news, I've got some really cool stuff. You know, we're just having a look at some of the DJI announcements that are coming in. And this news is so hot that we don't have pictures or graphics or anything up on the screen for it. But let's just quickly talk about it. So we've heard the last couple of days that DJI have a new product called Terra for drone mapping. So this is something that kind of replaces your Pix4D functionality, but it's a little bit different. When you go and do mapping with Terra, you take your Windows PC, there's no Mac version for it yet. You take your Windows PC and you plug the PC directly into the remote controller. So you don't use your phone.
Wow.
And in doing that, it's automatically going and doing some live mapping. So it's doing some of the stitching and all of the quality checking live instead of you going and doing a mission, sending your photos somewhere and sending it into the cloud. It's actually making sure you're getting a quality.
That's incredible. We didn't even see this on the radar. I had no idea. I mean, I could imagine DJI, they've got the Phantom 4 RTK, you know, and I don't know how they will integrate that too. But as we're sort of thinking about now, and a lot of people saying the end of the Phantom, what's the big news about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the interesting thing. Let's talk a little bit more. We'll come back to Phantom, but the Terra application, it only works on Phantoms.
That's what I'm saying. If it only works on Phantom, the Phantom is not dead.
Yeah,
most definitely. I mean, they wouldn't be just making this for the 4T RTK. I imagine it's going to work beautifully with the RTK unit, but you know, that's a lot of grunt putting together for if there's 5 coming. So let's wait and see about that one.
So let me just dive into that a little bit more. And by the way, if we are buffering today, we will upload a copy of this later. I'm seeing some internet challenges again, but we'll upload a copy later. So this particular software only works with, it doesn't work with a Phantom 4. It does partially work with a Phantom 4, but not for some of the advanced features. It'll work with a Phantom 4 Pro. It'll work with a Phantom 4 Pro version 2, and it'll work with the RTK. So those are the different products that it works with. And all of those except for the RTK are already end of life, end of production. You can't buy them anymore. So if DJI is now launching this enterprise grade mapping product and 3D modeling product, they've got to have an aircraft with it. So it's pretty sure that there is a new Phantom product coming. And I just saw today on a couple of feeds in April, and in fact, April the 23rd, there's going to be a new product launch happening. I haven't got video or footage of it. I just saw it this morning. But, that's really, really good news.
Oh, do we got any idea of what the pricing's going to be on this new bit of software, mate?
I did have a look. I tried to search it last night. It's only available from resellers. DJI don't sell it on their own store. It is an annual subscription, and there are two versions of the subscription. One which is your base model, which is doing the 2D orthomosaic kind of mapping, and then the next level up also does your 3D modeling as well.
Now I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here, and if you think back about some of the DJI products, one of them is a application that was made by a Japanese company which is called GS Pro, which is a great piece of mapping software. DJI support it. They have a DJI brand on it, but it's not DJI software. And we know, to be fair, DJI aren't big on software. They're not those kind of guys. And if it's not available on their website, my guess is that this is a branded product.
I think they actually bought someone. I think they bought a company, and I actually saw it as part of my research last night, an individual office building that's responsible for this particular piece of software.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So it sounds like they bought a company and they picked up the assets with it.
Yep. Okay, good. Well, that makes sense. As I said, they're not big software builders. They make good hardware, but their software has always been a bit fluky and without help. So, like the Rise and the Tello, I suppose, they're open to that kind of negotiation. So, well, let's see what it looks like. Hopefully, it'll be a good product because we'll use it for sure.
Yeah. We have one other really, really important piece of news before we get into the official stuff. Last week, we didn't have a show. And the reason for that, one of our family, our droning family, Greg Hilton, he called me at 1:15 in the morning on Saturday morning last weekend. I didn't know at the time, but I now know and now understand that at the time he called me, he was having or just had a stroke. And he had also fallen and injured his back in 4 places. I don't know if it was broken or dislocated or what it was that happened with his spine, but there were 4 parts of his spine that were injured.
Oh, not good. Hope he's mending up now. I know he's okay now, kind of thing. So that's good.
So what I'm going to say is, first of all, Greg made it to hospital. I called an ambulance for him. When he called me, he was non-compass mentis. He wasn't fully understanding the passage of time and was a little bit fuzzy. So I got an ambulance there for him. The ambulance people took him away, and he's been in hospital. He's had MRIs, and he sent me a photo earlier today. He said, "This is the results of my MRI," and he's got a roadrunner holding up a sign, "Nothing here." So anyway, so he's definitely not lost his sense of humor. But I just want to ask for, after this video is, don't do it on the live one. When I re-upload the video later on, if I could ask everyone to comment on that video and send your good wishes to Greg. Again, not on the live one, on the one that says re-upload, and we'll share that with Greg later on. So that's all of the pre-news news. Now let's get into the real news. And there goes John. He's disappeared, but that's good timing because we can have the first picture up on the screen. China has developed a hydrogen-powered drone. This is becoming more and more popular by the day. This is the latest news from Xinhua. This is a tech company. They've had their maiden flight of this particular drone. Now, the basic premise and challenge, it's a light aircraft. It's able to go longer. It's using a different fuel type. So they're wanting to do much longer commercial flights with that particular piece of technology. So interesting there. Now, I would normally at this point have a conversation with John about it, but as we can tell, he's indisposed at the moment, so we'll get back to him in a couple of moments. While we're waiting for him to come back, our second story today, this one's interesting. This one is a logistics company, a drone technology and logistics company. The idea is to make the supply chain in war zones, but not just in war zones. This can be used in other environments as well. So Aviation, Space and Technology reports a wooden aircraft, the LG-1K, was developed by Logistic Gliders. They're under contract with DARPA and the US Marine Corps. Let's just have a look at the video. It's really cool. So basically, these are deployed, generally speaking, from a cargo aircraft or some other. Let me turn that down a little bit, quite noisy there. These drones are deployed from some other powered assisted aircraft, and they're essentially at the moment able to glide down and deliver cargo to a drop point. Really cool idea, and think of it as a disposable drone. Can be flown from a remote pilot on the ground to bring it in, so obviously the people that are still up in the air, they can focus on flying their plane, and the people down on the ground can zoom it into where it needs to go to. I think this has got a lot of applications in rural and farming locations as well, where you want to go and get something to a location. It's going to be a low cost, almost disposable aircraft. So yeah, it's got a really cool idea. So again, I would normally have a chat to John about this, but if you've got some questions in the chat room, feel free to pop them up there and I can have a chat with you instead of my co-host that's hiding from me today. And apologies for that. John is traveling today and he's going to be going to an airport, so he might come in and out. Let's move on. So our next story today on the list, this one is a story about the Asia region and particularly Thailand using drones to deal with smog. Now we've seen a couple of these stories before, but there's just a new news article about it, and I just thought I'd share it because we didn't really do it here before. Let's just play the video. So basically what people have been doing in some countries where they've got high smog, they're using drones, and it's been widely advertised that they're spraying water from the drones to try and cling on to smog and dust particles in the air. But what is interesting, and that I'd read somewhere else, and I don't know how true this is, I don't know if it's truth or myth, but there was a rumour that they're actually mixing the water with molasses or some other sticky chemical to try and make the dust attract to the sprayed substance even more so. Now obviously you're not going to spray necessarily that stuff, the sticky stuff, above an urban area, because that might not be nice getting onto people, but they're using the water in the city. We'll just have a quick look at this as it goes up. So I've done a lot of travelling around different parts of Asia for my work career over many years, and certainly smog is a very real challenging problem, and you know, this seems to be an unusual way of using drones to help deal with that. Certainly that looks to be clear water. I don't know if the molasses thing is a rumour or not, but certainly that appears to be just water there. We'll just let him go up and then move on. There we go. So I don't speak Thai, but they're certainly having a lot of fun with that in the air there. And I think, as I said before, it's a great idea, a creative way of using drones to help deal with a real problem. As we move on to our next story, however, this one is about privacy. So we'll get rid of that video over there. The next story today is about a rogue drone pilot trolling victims with online photos. This particular victim is posting photos of one of the residents that they're stalking on social media sites. Now, I've previously had some critical reviews, I would say. I've been very critical of A Current Affair for some of their previous sensationalist journalism, but this guy really makes me sick. He's basically going and having a drone outside someone's window and posting photos of them on social media. So absolutely disgusting, illegal, and not appropriate use of drones by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, something we don't want to see, but nothing much we can do about it unless people catch him, this guy. Hopefully we'll follow up in days and weeks to come and hear that he's been charged. But just one other thing about that before I move on. He would be charged not with a drone offence, but with stalking offences. So flying a drone, there's no drone laws in Australia relating to privacy. So that's just one interesting observation. Okay, moving on from that one, our next story today. So the Chula Vista Police have approved beyond visual line of sight drone flights. Let's play that. There we go. So we've got a photo of them at the moment. The police in this particular location, which is in Chula Vista, California, is the first public safety organisation. They're allowed to regularly fly drones beyond visual line of sight. Really good use of drones, and yeah, I think that's very progressive in that way. It'd be interesting to find out a little bit more about the technology that they're using to understand how they're mitigating safety concerns, and then how we as other pilots could potentially mirror that in our manual of standards. So very interesting. I've got two more. Our next story is about the use of drones over a prison. You know, we've had lots of examples of this for some time. This particular prison is in Dublin. It's the Mountjoy prison. The prison service has stepping up inmate monitoring after the latest attempted drug drop in that particular location. Now, before we move on to the next story, I'm just going to throw it out there. We've got a challenge today that John has obviously disappeared. So, you know, I mentioned before he was traveling at an airport and he hasn't come back into the live stream at the moment. So what I'm going to do is get up a link to come into Rendezvous. I'll publish that in the chat room in a couple of minutes. And if someone wants to be a fill-in co-host today, that'd be awesome. Sorry for doing it without notice. And as I mentioned, our guest has also disappeared today. So it's a double missing person today. So anyone that can fill in, that'd be very useful. Let's go. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go to the next story and I'll play the video for that. And while we do that, I will get up the Rendezvous link. So our next story, this one is about the use of a Mavic Enterprise. And this is police use of the Enterprise, where there was a barricaded gunman flying barricaded gunman inside a building. This is 1.7. And the police used that to communicate with him and deal with that standoff. Let's just play that clip. So really good use of the Mavic Enterprise there. They've got the speaker on top and they were using that to communicate with him. So really good use of that technology and successfully dealing with that particular situation. So whoever wants to be a co-host, I've pasted a link into the chat for the moment. Now, what we're going to do, someone from that will join in a couple of minutes and we'll add them into the show. What we are going to do very, very briefly though, so I've got where we would have had our guest at the moment. So we've got 2 videos from our guest. So 2.2 and 2.1, just the next one's in the list, that one, yeah. What we'll do, so Outback Trucker, this is a guy that's, actually let's just play this first.
Passionate about it, really love it. It's something I've fallen in love with. We bought the drone about 3 years ago and sat in the cupboard for a couple of years, and I thought, well, I'll bring it with me and just take a photo. And I took a photo of this truck out in the Nullarbor and put it up on a truck page, and it just went nuts. And I did another one that went crazy, and then started a Facebook page and hours and hours on YouTube and Google, and just finding out how to improve myself and improve my photography. My personal favourite spot's on the Great Australian Bight. I just love the I love turning off the trucks when we've got empty trailers and it's just complete silence and you just hear the boom noise of the waves hitting the cliffs. Phenomenal. I never get sick of it. Never. I like the bird's eye view, and I like showing something that can't be seen from average people that don't see it. I never thought I'd be doing this. No, I didn't. Never thought I'd be taking photos with a drone, for sure.
So that was a video from the ABC television about the person who was to be our guest today. And as I said at the beginning of the show, he had he popped a turbo today on his truck rig, and he's in the middle of the Nullarbor trying to get back home in time for the show, and it just wasn't to be. We've got one more clip from him, which we'll play, and while we're playing that, I'll get someone else up on the screen. So let's just play that clip now. That we don't have our guest here in person today, but this is some of the stuff that we would have spoken about. But essentially, Outback Trucker, our planned guest today, he couldn't be here, but he's kind of taken up going and flying drones while he's trucking around Australia in the middle of the Nullarbor, and some really, really good footage. We're going to have him come back another time. But before we do anything else now, we'll open the microphone for our temporary fill-in co-host and throw him up on the screen. Are you there, Mr. Spiky?
Hello, hello. How are you, everyone?
Hello,
G'day,
Mr.
g'day.
Spike.
I'm always here. I'm always here somewhere.
Look, if we're going to bring anyone as a substitute to fill in, particularly when we're talking about a trucker in the middle of the Nullarbor, who else could you bring in but Spike?
Yeah. Yeah. G'day, everyone. I've got a new car.
Okay, good to hear, good to hear. So
Yep.
we won't have our guest, as I said. What we will do now, though, we're going to quickly move on to FPV Korner. We're going to have a look at this week's video, which is from Trav Manning, and he calls this particular video True Aussie Colours. Let's play.
Two colours, right, eh?
Now, just a reminder that this video was actually put together by Greg Hilton. He put this together before his stroke. Oh, we've got John hiding there. He's come back to us. We'll put John in over and see over there. Let's do that.
How you going, John?
So John can't be heard on air at the moment. It'll take a little while before we get him back. But anyway, as I was saying, Greg Hilton is the one who put this one together before he had his stroke. So thanks as always, Greg, for your absolute awesome selection of some of the best footage around. And in particular, thanks to the creator who did this one, Trav Manning. If you want to check out Trav's channel, there's a link in the description for the video. So do check that one out as well. Okay, we've got John back. Hey, Johnny.
Hey guys, how you going? You hear
So
me
it
all right?
looks like we've lost the video. My wife, who's busy setting up all of the audio for John, didn't realise that she just switched to John full screen. Do you want to put the video back? That's the one. Yeah, it gets a little bit complicated when you're trying to fix the audio for a guest halfway through a show, but anyway.
I can. Sure. I think he's lost my audio.
Again, the title that Trav has put with this video, True Aussie Colours, and I think definitely the green and gold with the sun there, the golden reflections of the sun with the brown. Okay. So that was today's FPV Korner. Again, thanks to Greg Hilton. And please, after the show, as I said, we will re-upload a copy of this. Please do share your good wishes on the re-uploaded copy of the video. So, John, let's just switch to you for a minute. What's happening there, bud?
Oh, Matt, I finally made it in. I'm here at Adelaide Airport, as you can see. I actually found the pub. This is the Cooper's Ale pub. A bit early in the morning to save a few of these fine ales. However, I did last night. It's pretty good beer over here. So most Aussies know about the Cooper's beer. I like the Cooper's beer, so it goes down very well. So, oh look, there's a bit of an ad for them in the background there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's been good. Look, I'm heading home after a busy week over here. We've got more work to do this week with thermal cameras. We're doing some more trials at night. And,
let's just talk about that very briefly. You mentioned thermal cameras. I had some videos queued up ready for that, which is next on our playlist, 4.1 and 4.2. Let's just chuck one of those videos up.
Yeah, it's been good, mostly for a security client, and they're interested in developing ways of chasing people that are hanging around their perimeter. Now, this video you're looking at here, this is actually myself and Hamish Allen, and we're parked about nearly a kilometre away from the sensitive site. And as the MX outlining picks up, that's the circle you can see is our little helipad, different temperature. You can see a signpost, and there we are waving. Now, that's in pitch darkness, everybody. So as we get closer, as the aircraft gets closer, you'll see the colour changes. It starts to get temperature readings. And if you get down low enough, you can almost read the number plate with the outline. So you can see also the engine at the front of the car has a bit of residual heat in it as well. And of course, the darker colours, here you can see the car taking off. Now, we did an experiment with the car with the headlights off. So there's absolutely no residual light here at all. There's the headlights coming on. You can see it. And again, this is an enhanced infrared image. So it's actually, by using a dual camera, you can use whatever the RGB camera will pick up and give an outline to, mixed in with the thermal image as well. So here we go. The car is actually trying to escape, going along about 65, 70 kilometres an hour. The little Mavic going flat out to keep up in sport mode. And this is a Mavic Enterprise Dual. Everybody, just to give you a good idea of what's capable. Tom is flying here. He's around 30 metres in altitude. And even at that altitude, you can clearly see he was going up to a gate, pulling up to a gate to the entrance to the facility, and other signposts and things. So it's not bad, trees outlined and so forth. So we're very impressed with it. The X-T2 is a much more serious camera that'll hang off the Inspire 2. That'll do a lot more, of course. But as an entry-level thermal camera, you can do solar panel work with it. Price in Australia, anyway, they're around $4,500. So the full kit, you get the spotlight, the beacon light, the speaker, all the other goodies, and a very nice case that goes with it. So it's a complete package. But one of the federal police units here have just bought 10 of these aircraft, so they're banking on them being pretty good. And we actually got one from them to trial, so pretty excited about it. I think most of these aircraft have been snapped up. You still can get them, but they're being snapped up pretty fast by the EMS folks because they realise they can use it. It's a very usable aeroplane, very quick to set up, quick to get going. So that's the Mavic Enterprise Dual with
I'm curious.
thermal camera.
Yeah, I'm curious, John. Do you think there's an application also in terms of environmental survey of properties, looking for either cold leaks in summer if you've got your aircon on, or vice versa in winter?
Absolutely. I think the resolution has got to be understood. So we don't make any apology for that. It's a small thermal camera. It's basically limited in what it can see, like any camera. It'd be like slinging a 5 megapixel or 6 megapixel camera on your Phantom 4. But it still works. It's still an image, and said this is a radiometric image. One of the things that we'd like to see, which is not available, is logging of the radiometric data. So one thing that if you understand thermal imagery, is that when you keep the file, you can either keep just a JPEG or an MOV file like you're looking at now, but there is an accompanying file that thermal gets where it keeps the actual radiometric data. And of course, in post, you can pull that up and refine it, do much more with it by actually channeling into the various frequencies that you want to see.
You could think of it like color grading of the temperature.
Absolutely, very much color grading of the temperature, and also if you think of it like what we use multispectral cameras for, weed mapping and so forth, where you're able to fine-tune the post-production of the camera down to the actual light spectrum that the plant that you're trying to track is. So radiometric data is great, but look, who knows? That might just be software, and that's what we're guessing. We think that the software for the Mavic Enterprise Dual has got a long way to go, so we're using DJI Pilot, which is what the Mavic Matrice guys use, and the bigger Matrice. It's a very basic. If you like DJI Go 4, you won't like the DJI the Pilot app. It's missing all of the features. It doesn't have attractive track, doesn't have any of the fancy stuff that we're used to in our hobby grade application. The professional one is cut right back. There might be a good reason for that in terms of robustness of the software itself, but also another little addition that Matrice's got, which also they put on the Mavic Enterprise, is AirSense, which is great. So it's got an actual ADS-B receiver in the aircraft itself. It's not getting it right in, it's actually receiving the targets directly to the aircraft, and you get a little symbol, blue symbol if it's within 10 kilometres. It goes yellow within 5 and red within 2 kilometres. So that's a thing that we think, and I've heard from DJI from a meeting, that they're going to have that on all their aircraft in the future. It'll have AirSense, and that'll eventually have sense and avoid. So what will happen is just how you've got geofencing. If an aircraft approaches you, the aircraft will return to home or reduce its altitude. And look, it's just going to give us more freedom, basically. It's another risk mitigator. So it's good, but we're very happy with it. We're going to do some more trials this week. And then it's going to start to go into service for us with a crew in probably 2 or 3 months' time.
Yeah. Okay, look, just before we do anything else, right, we're going to go in to have a look at our Explore Australia video in a moment, but something we did last time you were in an airport, we had you go and approach a random person, and I'm going to ask you to do that again.
No, I
can't.
In a minute.
I can't?
I can't do that. I'm being watched. I think they watched me as I was coming in the airport, and now I think I've been listed as a suspicious character. So because I've got all this gear set up, and I've got technology with me, and I'm actually being. Well, I don't want to turn the camera around.
Adelaide Airport compared to Sydney is a little bit.
The guns are watching me over there. So look, I could go up and ask them, but they're just not. It's just not something I want to try today. However,
I'll tell you what I was wanting to do and why, though. Right, so. We've spoken before about what do you actually do when you get a drone at an airport and all of that kind of stuff. And I've been looking at the data from ATSB, and the incidents where drones have been shot out of the air, it doesn't exist. They didn't put them on the statistics, even though they were reported to the ATSB. It's like it never happened.
Yeah, I actually think they're keeping the data, Greg, but they're not posting it. So we don't know really. I think that what this problem is that because of the legislation and the problems that we've got with where the rules are, these guys don't want to. They're just going to keep silent, and they'll keep the data. And then, of course, I think that. Well, that's my guess anyway. That because they can't actually put this stuff up yet. The jury's not out on what's going to happen and whether if they post something and it's a security risk or a safety risk, and they don't do anything about it because they can't do anything about it. Now who are we looking at? We're looking at the government, because they're saying, hang on, these guys have just put up, this is a safety problem, it's happening, and nothing's being done. And obviously, because there's no action on these things, they risk litigation. So but
I'll tell you where I was going to go. Yeah, I think you're probably right, but I'll tell you where I'm going to go with it. I've got a video that I'm going to quickly tell you about now as a teaser for next week. So this is a video from the Avalon Air Show. And this is where, so you can shoot a drone down, but it doesn't get recorded as an incident. But if you use a laser pointer to an aircraft, that gets reported as an incident. But I tell you what, this was an awesome piece of footage that we're going to share next week from the Avalon Air Show of a plane shooting lasers everywhere else down to the ground instead of up at the plane, and also shooting fireworks from the plane. So that's a little teaser for next week.
Yeah, that's chaff. Yep.
Yeah. Did you see that while you were there? I know you were down there.
Yeah, it's good. So those are actually countermeasures that aircraft use. So that obviously lasers and chaff will distract a laser-seeking missile, and that's what it's for. And so the military have a special license to use those kind of things in terms of defence, of course. Chaff has been very popular, and they really started experimenting with chaff in the Second World War to distract. And I believe even a very strange version of that is in a great film called Master and Commander, where they make a fake ship and they create a light that is a distraction for the enemy, and they put it in a dinghy. And of course, they follow the wrong. You might remember that movie. But chaff is a distraction for heat-seeking missiles, and the lasers are for pave track lasers to distract them.
Okay, well, we'll check that out next week. I just thought I'd give that little sneak preview.
Right.
But, so we've got to that point of the show where we explore Australia. So let me go and find, as we're totally out of order today. By the way, do you like the new graphic?
I like
with
the
with the Aussie Drone logo in there as well?
Yep.
I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Greg Hilton on the side while you were there for a while, mate, mentioned that he had a little video piece on that he was preparing to play, and I don't really know the whole concept. You know, with him, could be anything.
So is Greg in the chat?
Oh no, sorry. I know I can't see him. Who have you got in the wind standby? Who's over there?
Oh, Spiky.
Oh, Spike. Sorry, it's Spike. I apologise. I was thinking Greg because we've been talking about Greg. It's Spike. The Spike mentioned he's got something there, but I don't know what it was. But you'll have to check
Let me come back to that. What I do want to do quickly
Spike.
first, I've got your mic up now, Spike. What we're going to do now is quickly have a look at this week's Explore Australia clip, and then we'll have a little chinwag at the end of the show with both of you. Let's go.
Righto. Yep.
So this first one is a clip from Tassie Quads. This is a drone view of a bushfire smoke over Hobart, filmed with a Mavic Pro. This was captured just as the smoke began in the Hobart area. Our second one today from Dave Mapstone. This is a foggy sunrise over the New South Wales Central Coast at Lion Island. He was lucky enough to capture a foggy sunrise over Lion Island. And one of the most spectacular things that he's commented he's captured with his drone. And I absolutely agree. Having said that, line of sight and weather and all of those kind of things, probably a little bit questionable, John. Oh, his microphone's gone down.
Here I am. That's actually fine because you certainly can see upwards through fog a little easier sometimes. So what he's got here is the sun is reflecting off the top of the cloud, making it look like the visibility is a lot worse than what it is. But I know that area very well, and there's a classic case there. If you're at West Head, you've got good line of sight to your aircraft as you fly out over there. And I imagine that's probably where he is. So, no, I've done that myself, and it's good. It looks good. It looks like you're on top of, but you can see the aircraft clearly from below.
Okay, our third one today is from Gareth Heyman. Longreef, Sydney, along the coast there. Some cinematic drone footage.
Lovely.
Captured at Longreef.
That's a great flying site too. That one.
I love the low flying over some of the coastline there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I wonder what machine he's using to do that. It doesn't look like an FPV bird, but see how it's got a nice bank angle on the. Sometimes you don't get that if you're using a standard DJI quad, but it's lovely.
Oh, but I'm going to share with you that's coming soon.
Yeah, right. So you can.
If you want to get the bank angle on a DJI quad, there are ways of doing that, and traditionally it's all turned off in the aircraft.
That's right.
But
Airplane mode will do it.
Yeah, with no limit drones, there's a lot of fun stuff that's going to be available in version 2. Now that's not a DJI quad.
Absolutely not. I was going to say, it's lovely to fly. FPV flying looks so much more natural in a flying sense to me, rather than a gimbal camera. But it's beautiful. That's really nice work. Smooth.
And as we move into Viola Frank is the creator of this one, and this is his show reel, his YouTube trailer. Now, all of the people that we feature, as we do every week, have descriptions and channel links in the description for the video, so please do go check them out.
Can you hear me, Greg?
Oh, I can hear you, mate. I can hear you all right.
I've got a full screenshot, about 20-second cut with no sound of a video I'm editing, and it's a really good intro thing. It's drone related. It's got my drone in it. If you care to put that to air, I'm ready to go, pressing the right buttons, all ready to go. Let's
chat about it in a couple of minutes, but we've got to work out how to get it here. But
Sure.
we'll chat about it in a sec. Scott Crothers from Roslyn Bay, he got a Mavic 2 yesterday. Whoops is what he lists in there in the description for his video. So I don't know that it's a whoops in terms of his flying. I think it's a whoops in terms of he's being sucked into the hobby and enjoying it.
Like we all do.
That's real nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is filmed at Roslyn Bay. Now, earlier on today, we mentioned our Outback Trucker. He's going to be featuring in Explore Australia today as well. So it's rather fitting that he was going to be the guest today, but again, his turbo blowing up in the middle of nowhere made that a bit tricky. But we'll check out his clip shortly. This one is from JN, an Australian drone compilation, short compilation of drone shots that he took in 3 separate locations visiting Australia. Unfortunately, it doesn't mention where, but still very, very beautiful footage and beautiful coastline and some nice sun flaring there too.
A lot of Australia's like that. It'd be hard to tell.
Yeah. Okay, this is the one I mentioned before, flying the Nullarbor, trucking across the Nullarbor, the Drome Way.
Yeah, this is great. Imagine that you keep your aircraft in the cab, you know, have a rest for a while, go for a fly. You'd be so many great places where you could just stop and yeah, capture stuff like this.
But he's doing this everywhere, and he's got this Facebook, like he's started to go a little bit viral, and he did apologise for not being here today. But just look at this. He often drives with his wife, and I'm making an assumption that it's he's driving the truck, and his wife is doing the piloting of the aircraft.
Right.
I'll just turn Johnny down a little bit with the announcements in the back. Yeah, I'm assuming his wife's doing the flying, but certainly some awesome footage. I'd ask everyone to go and have a look at the information in the description. Go out and check out his channel. There's more to find.
Fantastic. Great shot.
Very cool.
Yeah. Flying just along the truck like that and then up it went. That was really good reveal.
Again, I just want to say it one more time. The person who puts our clips together for Explore Australia each and every week, Greg Hilton, great guy. Please do, after I upload the re-upload, because this is the one with all of the buffering in it, don't comment on this one. Wait for the re-upload, and you know, send your best wishes to Greg as he's recovering at the moment. Certainly, it was I think a scary episode for him, but he's definitely doing a lot better now.
I loved it before when the drone flew underneath the truck. That was really cool.
Okay, and our last one today, Gary P. Hayes. This one is titled Heavenly Pagodas in 4K, although of course with a live feed it's never going to be 4K. This is near the Gardens of Stone in Blue Mountains, Australia. I'm just trying to find out if I've got info on what he was flying there. I can't see that, unfortunately. If you're a non-Australian and you're watching this today, the Blue Mountains, very, very famous part of Australia. Definitely encourage you, if you do come and visit, to go and check out the Blue Mountains. Beautiful.
Explain why they're blue, Greg.
It's to do with the atmosphere and the sun reflecting off different... I don't want to say stuff. John, come on, explain it.
It's the eucalypt. It's actually
that's the one.
It's actually if you like, a gas or substance, you can call it a gas that the eucalypt gives off, and that really is that the refraction in the horizon on that gas. So yeah, it's quite unique.
Yeah. Just reading now. The blue haze blanketing the mountains is created by the atmosphere, whereby dispersed droplets of eucalypt oil combine with dust particles and water vapor to scatter refracted rays of light, which are largely blue in colour. So there you go. So to answer your question, Spikey, getting your video down is a little bit challenging for us today.
All you have to do, mate, is just leave the camera on like that and put me on screen as you are, and
Okay.
I'll press the button and you'll see what happens.
Okay, I'll do that.
Give us, see if it comes through. Tell me, because I can't see it. You have to tell me. All right, here we go. Ready? I've killed the sound, so as soon as it goes.
I'm watching your face.
You can't see that.
This is
No.
It's a very scary video, mate. I'm telling you right now. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have nightmares tonight after watching this one.
You couldn't see that because I've got it on share full screen
No, not today. Not today,
Okay.
Unfortunately. The actual sharing thing with Rendezvous is a little bit challenging, shall we say. I'll leave it at that. So we've come to the end of the show. What I'm going to do quickly is we're going to go to the chat and have a look at what people are talking about there, particularly if people want to chat about what we think is going to happen in April. I'm definitely looking forward to a new Phantom 5 series drone. That'll be cool. Let's have a look. Dennis has got a couple of 4K videos, have never paid. I don't know what you're talking about. What paid for what? Spike, hello, haha, da. By the way, if anyone does have any videos they'd like to send in, let's just quickly put up that information on the screen now while we're waiting for some comments to come in. So if you want to upload a video to us so that we can share it with the community, send it to that email address there, upload@gregkuhnert.com. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, there's the details there, our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channel details. If you've got anything physical you'd like to send, and I know our favourite friend Ken has got the candy exchange program where people are sending candy from all around the world to him to share that. I'd love to have some candy from the Americans. I mean, we've got all of these different brands and things over there. Let's bring the candy exchange to Australia. I'll send you a tube of Vegemite in return. And John, you're muted at the moment. I don't know why.
No, here I am.
There you go.
I'm just trying to work out how, when you're going to exchange Vegemite for sweets, what we're talking about here. You know, are we going to do it by the 100 weight or what? You know, a jar of Vegemite. Anyway, that'd be nice. Yeah, I do like American sweets. British lollies are good too. I can see you've got the drone camp slide up, and that's great to talk about that. We're very excited. Drone camp again. If you are interested, obviously, even if you're from overseas, you want to come to drone camp, check out dronecamp.info. Maybe you've got a relative or a young relative that would like to get in high school age, and we're going to really give these guys a great couple of days. They're going to do all sorts of things from mapping, thermal cameras. We're going to have races. We're going to do drone Olympics, all sorts of challenges, search and rescue. We're going to pack 3 days of really, really fun flying, and also I think it's a great introduction to people considering that they might want a career in the industry. That's what we'll be focusing on as well. So people that are in high school thinking, okay, what's the drone world going to be like? What can I do? and we're going to have Avi Assist to team up with us and give a certificate that will credit towards their REPL license if they'd like to go and complete that as well. So lots of great things in Drone Camp. Please tell your friends, spread the word, have a look. I'd love, and from our listeners here, give me some suggestions. Have a look at what we're putting on at Drone Camp. I'd love to hear your suggestions and what you think might entice young folks to come and get into it. So hopefully I'll have the Army there flying their FPV stuff as well. That's not confirmed yet, but I'm going to put the word out. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. Just before we go, I just saw Ready Set Drone hopped on. I'd be curious if he's got any comments relating to the new app that's just come out for doing aerial mapping and surveying, the fact that it's Phantom only. And does that mean that the Phantom is not dead? People have been speculating that it is. We think that it's probably not dead now on the back of that, but I'd love to hear from you,
well,
Kelly.
Everyone said it was dead after the 3. That was it. When the Mavic came out, we thought it was dead. When the Mavic 2 came out, everyone said, well, that's the end of the Phantom. So we've been wrong before. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if we don't hear anything else, I think that's enough for today.
Yep.
It's been good hanging out with our friends as always. Now, I do want to do one last thing here. I want to put Spike up on screen, full screen.
Back to there he goes.
He's frozen.
A monolith.
Oh, well.
That's great.
Such is life.
Oh, that's great. Well, look, hopefully he'll upload his little piece because, he's always got some good stuff to show us. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, look, it's been good hanging out with everyone as always. Thank you for watching. Please do hit the like button, the thumbs up. Please do subscribe if you're new to the channel. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
I'll see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye safe.